What happens when love turns into violence? How does someone go from being the person you call the love of your life to taking everything you hold dear? Your dreams, your future, and even your breath. Today, we're diving into the heartbreaking story of Andricka Sims, a hard-working mother of 8 who was gunned down just hours before finalizing her divorce. What should have been the start of a new chapter in her life. The man who pulled the trigger wasn't a stranger. It was her husband of 13 years, the father of her 8 children, the same man she once described as my rock, my king, and my everything. Why did this happen? Why would the man who built a life with her, raised a family with her, and shared so many memories with her suddenly become the one to take it all away? And why are so many victims of domestic violence unable to escape their abusers, no matter how hard they try? I'll be in the comments to hear your thoughts, because stories like this demand we ask the hard questions. And maybe, together, we can find some answers. Imagine this. Andrea had 8 kids. 8 little lives that depended on her, 8 reasons to wake up every morning and work tirelessly to provide for them. She juggled multiple jobs at Amazon, Postal Service and Family Dollar, just to make ends meet. She recently landed a position with the Transportation Security Administration, TSA, even bringing her kids along for family days at work. Friends describe her as kind, hearted, resilient, and endlessly loving. Her 13-year-old daughter, Sia, remembers her mom as a very caring person who loved everybody. Together, they planned to watch Barbie the following Saturday. A plan that will now never come true. But here's the part that makes this story even more gut-wrenching. Andrea wasn't running from a stranger that day. She was running from the man she once called her quiet confidence, the man who inspired her, the man she said she couldn't live without her, the man who gave her 8 children. Why, after 13 years of marriage, did he decide that if he couldn't have her, no one could? This wasn't just a crime. It was a betrayal of trust, of love, of family. Andrea's death leaves behind not only a grieving community, but 8 children who now have to grow up without their mother. 8 kids who won't feel her hugs, hear her laugh, or see her smile ever again. Before we begin, our hearts go out to the family of Andricka Sims, a devoted mother of 8 beautiful children whose life was tragically cut short. May her soul rest in peace. Stay with me as we unpack this devastating case and explore the warning signs that were missed or ignored. This is a story about love, loss, and the tragic consequences of unchecked anger. And yes, I'll be in the comments to respond to your thoughts, because this isn't just a story. It's a call to action. Welcome to Fatal Fame, where all our stories are based on true crimes. Please support us by subscribing to this channel and clicking the notification bell icon so you don't miss any of our latest stories. This devastating event took place in Detroit, Michigan, a city that's as resilient as it is complex. Known for its rich history and cultural contributions, Detroit has also faced significant challenges, particularly with violent crime. While the city has made strides in reducing those numbers in recent years, stories like this remind us that danger still lingers in unexpected places. It's a sobering reality that even amid progress, tragedy can strike when least expected. On August 4th, 2023, what seemed like an ordinary Friday morning quickly turned into a nightmare. At approximately 7:45 a.m., police responded to frantic calls about gunfire on Gunston Street in Detroit's East Side neighborhood. Neighbors reported hearing screams and seeing a woman running for her life while pleading for help over the phone with emergency dispatchers. By the time officers arrived, the scene was already chilling. 6 shell casings lay scattered across the pavement, and Andricka Sims' Macintosh lay motionless on the ground. Standing over her was Brian McIntosh, her husband of 13 years, holding the gun he had just used to end her life. Little did anyone know, this would be the day Andricka was set to finalize her divorce, a moment meant to symbolize freedom and a fresh start. For months, she had been working toward independence, planning for a future where she could focus solely on raising her 8 children without fear or conflict. Instead, that pivotal day became one of unimaginable loss, not just for Andricka, but for everyone who loved her. Stories like this force us to confront uncomfortable truths. What drives someone to commit such an act? How does a relationship spiral so far out of control? I'll be here in the comments if you want to share your thoughts, because these aren't just questions. They're cries for understanding and maybe even change. But who was Andricka Sims McIntosh? She wasn't just a name in headlines or another statistic in the ongoing conversation about domestic violence. To reduce her to that would be to miss the essence of who she truly was. Andricka was a superhero to her 8 children, a rock to her friends, and a beacon of strength to everyone fortunate enough to know her. She wasn't just surviving. Even against the odds. At just 35 years old, Andricka juggled multiple jobs. At Amazon, the US Postal Service, and Family Dollar, to provide for her family. She worked tirelessly, often putting others' needs before her own, because that's the kind of person she was. Recently, she had landed a position with the Transportation Security Administration, TSA, a role she was incredibly proud of. In fact, she loved it so much that she brought her kids along for family days at work, showing them what dedication and hard work looked like up close. Friends and co-workers described her as kind-hearted, resilient, and endlessly loving, a woman who radiated warmth no matter how heavy life got. Andricka's personality shone through in the little things she shared online. In one heartfelt social media post, she wrote, "I love my husband, but if anything were to ever happen where we weren't together anymore, I would definitely not do this marriage again." At the time, those words might have seemed like reflections on the challenges of relationships. Now, they carry a haunting weight, words that feel almost prophetic when viewed through the lens of what happened that tragic morning. Her loss leaves an unfillable void, especially for her 8 children. Those kids, 7 of whom were hers biologically and one whom Brian had accepted as his own, now face a future without their mother. Her 13-year-old daughter, Sia, remembers her mum as a very caring person who loved everybody. Together, they had planned to watch Barbie the following Saturday, a simple, joyful moment they'll never get to share. Instead, Sia is left holding on to memories. Summers spent splashing in the pool, laughter, filled birthdays, and the countless ways Andricka showed her love every single day. It's impossible not to feel the weight of what's been lost here. Andricka wasn't just taken from her family. She was stolen from a community that relied on her light. This wasn't just a life cut short. It was a ripple effect of pain. That will echo for years to come. And yet, even in death, Andricka reminds us of the importance of resilience, self-worth, and fighting for independence, no matter how difficult the battle may seem. If you're feeling something right now, anger, sadness, frustration, you're not alone. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about how we can honor Andricka's memory by ensuring stories like hers don't keep repeating themselves. Because enough is enough. Let's talk about what happened that morning, because understanding the details helps us make sense of the unimaginable. When officers arrived on Gunston Street, the scene was nothing short of devastating. 6 shell casings were scattered across the pavement, and there was Andricka, lying motionless on the ground. Standing over her, still clutching the gun he had just used to take her life, was Brian McIntosh, her husband, the father of her 8 children. the man she once called her rock and everything. It's hard to wrap your mind around, isn't it? Neighbors who witnessed the chaos described hearing desperate screams and seeing Andrei running for her life while frantically calling 911. In one chilling recording, you can hear her pleading for help as her husband chased her down the street. Imagine that moment. The fear, the adrenaline, the sheer will to survive. All while knowing the person hunting her down was someone she once trusted with her whole heart. What makes this case particularly gut-wrenching is the timing. Andrei wasn't just out for a morning walk or heading to work like any other day. She was 2 hours away from finalizing her divorce. A legal process she hoped would bring safety, independence, and a fresh start for herself and her kids. Instead, that pivotal day became her death sentence. This wasn't just an act of violence. It was an act of control, a final, irreversible attempt to take everything Andrea had been working toward. And it leaves us asking, how could someone do this? Why would they choose destruction over letting go? I'll be in the comments if you want to share your thoughts or just sit with the weight of this story together. Because stories like Andrea's deserve more than silence. They demand reflection. And then there's Brian McIntosh. Once described as a loving husband and dedicated father, he was the man Andrea called her rock, her king, and even my everything. So what went wrong? How does someone go from being the person you trust most in the world to becoming the one who takes everything away? Reports suggest that Andrea had grown increasingly unhappy in the marriage and wanted out. In cryptic posts on social media, she hinted at feeling trapped and undervalued. She talked about self-worth, boundaries, and recognizing when it's time to let go of toxic relationships. Tragically, her desire for freedom may have triggered Brian's rage. Friends say Andrea confided in them about her struggles, sharing that the relationship wasn't what it used to be. It's clear now that she saw divorce not as an ending, but as a chance to rebuild, for herself and for her 8 children. What's even more unsettling is how calculated Brian's actions seemed to be. On August 4th, just hours before their divorce was set to be finalized, Andrea stopped at home to change clothes, a routine stop that turned into a nightmare. According to police, Brian arrived shortly after, allegedly armed and confrontational. When Andrea tried to escape, he chased her down the street, firing multiple shots while she pleaded for help over the phone with emergency dispatchers. By the time officers arrived, it was too late. Currently, Brian faces charges of premeditated first-degree murder and felony firearm possession. He was arraigned and remanded to jail without bond, where he awaits trial. But will justice truly be served? For Andrea's family, no verdict can bring her back or undo the trauma inflicted on her children. Still, they're left hoping that accountability might prevent another tragedy like this one. If you've got thoughts on why cases like this keep happening, or what needs to change, you know where to find me. Drop your comments below. This isn't just a story. It's a conversation we need to keep having, because if we don't talk about it, nothing changes. Stories like this force us to confront uncomfortable truths about domestic violence. Why do so many victims feel trapped, even when they're actively trying to leave? How can we prevent tragedies like this in the future? Andrea wasn't just running from her husband that morning. She was running toward freedom, toward a life where she could focus on raising her 8 children without fear. But for too many people, escape feels impossible, whether because of emotional manipulation, financial dependence, or the very real threat of retaliation. It's a cycle that claims lives every single day, and it has to stop. Let me know in the comments. What steps do you think society needs to take to address domestic violence? Have you or someone you know ever experienced something similar? These conversations are hard, but they're necessary. If we don't talk about it, nothing changes. And if there's one thing Andrea's story makes clear, it's that silence only perpetuates the problem. As we remember Andricka Sims McIntosh, let's honor her memory by continuing to shed light on these dark corners of humanity. She wasn't just a victim. She was a mother, a provider, a friend, and a fighter who deserved better. May she rest in peace, and may her story inspire change. Not just in how we view relationships, but in how we protect those who need help the most. If you found this video informative, please hit that like button and subscribe for more true crime stories. Sharing this video might help someone realize they're not alone, or encourage someone else to speak up when they see warning signs. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.